Okay, 2026 is fast approaching, and I hope in 2025 you had a lot of great moments with your family, and I'm sure there's a lot of areas you would like to do things better. Well, Sarah and I thought today what we wanted to do, we sat down and thought, what are the 10 things we would, if we could just say these 10 things, if you just change these in your family, it is going to exponentially help you have healthier and deeper, more connected relationships with your kids and with your spouse. So we compiled these 10. We thought it'd be fun to do a list today going into 2026. We've also got some really cool news at the beginning of this episode. We're talking about things that are upcoming with the podcast, but also some cool speaking things that are coming up. And if you haven't already, please take a moment to review, comment. That really helps our podcast. But as you're listening to these 10, would really love for you to be thinking about what's one thing you want to leave behind, or what's one thing you want to stop doing, or something you have in the past that exponentially helped your family become closer and more connected, because we'd love to hear those. So make sure if you want to email me at kyle@artofraisinghumans.com, or you could also comment on this podcast, just the different things you're wanting to leave behind in 2026. So get ready. If you want to get a pen and paper to write down these 10, it is really going to give you some really specific ways to change the dynamics in your home. And especially if you're spouse and you can listen to this together, it'd be really, really helpful. So I hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Art of Raising Humans.
The Art of Raising Humans is a podcast designed to support, equip, and encourage parents on how to create long-lasting, deeply connected relationships with their kids that's free from fear and shame. Come join us on the journey. Hello, and welcome to The Art of Raising Humans. I'm Kyle.
Hi there, I'm Sarah.
And Sarah, we've had some pretty awesome guests lately on the podcast.
We have. Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't checked it out, just a few weeks ago, we had Dr. Dan Siegel on the podcast, right? We had Tracy killing it on Instagram, right? Mm-hmm. Before that, we had Tina Payne Bryson, and we've got several more guests that are still to come up and show. But I wanted to let everybody know, especially all of our listeners who are in Tulsa, we've got a really cool event happening January 26th. Tina Payne Bryson is coming to Tulsa, and it's going to be awesome. She's going to do a full day. We don't know quite all the specifics yet, but I wanted to go and throw that out there. If you are interested, we're going to see she's partnering with Riverfield, which is a private school here in Tulsa, and they're bringing her out here to do some parenting training and some teacher training. So if you are interested, just kind of mark that on your calendar, and we'll give more specifics on this podcast as those kind of come available to us. Right?
Yeah, we'll share it as we know more.
Well, Sarah, something that's really popular around the New Year's to do New Year's resolutions, right? We've even talked in the past about how we do that with our kids by setting goals and doing different things like that with our kids. But we wanted to do something a little different this year, And it's not something we want to do to judge parents. It's not something we want to do to criticize parents.
Yeah, no, parenting is really hard. So that's never our thought or our intent. And it's all, we're growing, and we like to share that with others.
So to some extent, we wanted to take a different approach to, as the New Year's approaching, is we wanted to take 10 things we would like parents to do differently in 2026.
Yeah, we're still kind of tweaking this, but it's like things to leave behind.
Oh, okay. Things to let go of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like these things that we, as parents, you find yourself doing something and you think, I think this is hurting things, not helping things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a list of the things that we just say, let's leave this behind. If we can leave these things behind, not that it's easy, not that it'll happen overnight, but you will build stronger connection. Your family will come together more. You'll have less resistance.
Yeah.
You'll see things shifting. And so this is kind of our 10 things to leave behind to move in the other direction.
Well, and this is a kind of behind the scenes look of how we do the podcast, because I just wanted to call it 10 things I want parents to stop doing in 2026. And Sarah was like, I think that sounds really harsh. Let's back that off. Let's say it a different way, because really what you're saying is true. It's these 10 things, when parents keep doing them, and we're bringing these up because we see parents do them a lot.
Things even we've done.
Of course. We'll point out, we struggle with these two. They undermine your ability to create the kind of family you want, right? And actually the relationship with your kid that you want long term, right? That many of them are just like short term things that are trying to fix a problem that actually create more problems.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Top 10.
Yeah. So here we go. So that and these are no order of like the worst to the best. It's just top 10 things that we kind of thought of and thought, man, if parents would just leave these behind, oh my God, 2026 would be so much better for them. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
So the number one, this is really common, is stop grounding your kids. Okay. Why is that an important thing to leave behind?
Yeah. And we're using the word grounding. It could be timeout.
Sure.
But it's like, okay, the kid had a problem, right? They did something wrong, messed something up.
Made a mistake.
They were a kid.
Yeah.
And we put them in isolation, or we say, now we got to remove all this. You go be there.
Yeah.
And really, if you think about it, the child is needing a skill.
Yep.
If it's how to manage their angry feelings, if it's what to do when they really want something, like don't just go and steal that cookie or whatever it might be. They're needing to know what to do, and just isolating them doesn't teach them that. So instead, we want to pivot to say, let's leave behind that stuff. Let's move in the direction of going towards the child and helping them learn what to do in those situations.
Yeah, and most common ones I see, Sarah, lately has to do with grades. They're not doing well in school. It has to be they're on their phone too much, right? And then immediately, it's almost like the thing I want parents to be more thoughtful about in 2026 is this equation that they're kind of using that I know I was raised with, and so were you, and most of us were, where a kid messes up, does something bad, makes a mistake, and then we add some kind of punishment. And like you said, it could be timeouts, but most of when they're older, it's grounding. It's like you have to do this equation. They mess up, you have to ground them, and then that's going to make them do it better next time.
Yeah.
But what you quickly alluded to that I want to highlight is what's the skill they're learning? Like, come on, we've all been grounded, and we all know it's kind of like we just went in prison for 2 weeks, couldn't hang out with our friends, couldn't watch TV, could whatever. And we're like just waiting and biding our time. And I don't know if you know this, but when prisoners go to prison, they aren't taught how to be better. Like they don't come out with a whole set of skills.
Right? That's a shift that we're hoping.
Oh, we'd love to see that. But I'm saying,
like you're going to magically be better because you were gone for a while.
Yes.
Yeah. And we are just learning that that's not really. We need to build the skills, and then they can do it differently.
Well, and I want to give you some insight. I talk to the teenagers, and that's how the teenagers feel. They're like, oh yeah, I messed up. They have to ground me. And this is what they have to do. And then I learned my lesson, and now I'm going to do it better. And I say, what was the lesson you learned? Well, just not to do that. Yeah, but what are you going to do instead? I don't know. Like they really don't know what the other thing is. It's like, I got bad grades. Well, how are you going to get better grades? I'll study harder. Weren't you trying that before? I did, but then I got distracted and busy. So how are you going to fix that? Right? There was no conversation. Or you're on your phone too much. How are you going to be on your phone less? I'll just be on my phone less. I'll just try to be on it less. But isn't it really hard? Yeah, it is. I'll probably end up being on it a lot. I'll just get grounded again. And it's like that whole type of dance. I mean, every parent listening, that's what keeps happening. Like if grounding really worked, then the problem would just go away after you grounded them, right? But it ends up being they just end up getting sneakier. They end up hiding it better. That's typically what they tell me they're learning over those 2 weeks is why did I even say anything about it? Or why did I get on the wireless when they were home? They saw I was on my phone or whatever, There's all these kind of, so if we stop grounding them, then we start focusing on what is the skill they needed and how am I modeling and teaching that?
Yeah, they made that decision, whatever it was, for a reason. If we can just get to what was the beginning, that led to them making the decision you didn't like.
Yeah.
But, what other options were available? Do they even know those options? Do they know how to think through that? So if we could just back up and start there with them and be curious.
Yeah. Love that.
It would help.
Well, being curious would be great. Yeah. So number 2, Sarah, number 2 was, and this we hear a lot too, and I would love for parents to let go of this in 2026. Stop telling your kids, don't talk back to me. Okay. Once again, why would that be a good thing to let go of?
Well, really, we want them. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but we want them talking back. We want the conversation. We actually don't want kids. There's all kinds. I mean, like my brain is just full of, this could be an episode, but we want kids who have their thoughts, know their thoughts, and can communicate their thoughts.
Yeah.
We may want that done with kindness or
Yes.
with certain parameters, right? But the bottom line of just don't talk back, you want a silent child who just does what they're told by authority.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then later you feel like, how come my child doesn't open up? How come they don't talk to me? Or why did they get themselves in this position? They're just blindly following this person, this friend, this boss. We actually want them to be aware of what's going on inside, and we want to work that out with them.
Or there's so many times where a kid's having a hard time with a teacher and the parents will say, I tell him to go talk to the teacher, and the kid won't, because the kid will tell me they think the teacher's going to think they're being disrespectful or rude, or like they'll just tell me not to. And there's so many times, even Sarah, where I'm talking to a kid and I'm saying, why don't you tell your parents that? And like, no, if I did that, they would just say, don't talk back to me.
Right. Right. So instead, then the child doesn't get to learn how to have that conflict, how to pull out their thoughts and feelings and have that dialogue with another person. And so if we can just go, you know what, this is training ground for my child to have these conversations. We have different perspectives. We have different wants and different needs. And I want to teach them how to share that, how to have their voice heard, how to do it in a certain way, and how to resolve those things. So just see it as that training ground versus them talking back.
Well, so I would add to that two things. One, we want a dialogue. We don't want monologues, us monologuing to them and them monologuing back to us. But two, the change is, instead of saying, don't talk back to me, this is how I want you to talk back to me. Right. So there is guidance in it, but you get to tell them that, right? Like you get to say, I'd rather you say this. If that's what you're trying to say, just say it like this. Right. And then the kid starts to learn, like you said, a skill in the home where it's safe to mess up, how to talk back to people, whether it's their boss or whatever. You don't want them just blindly following people. You want them to know how to talk back.
And you model it.
Yeah. And so number 3, so that was number 1 was stop grounding your kids. 2, stop telling them to not talk back to you. Number 3 is stop demanding respect when you aren't modeling it. Okay. Well, what do we mean by that?
Kind of getting there with this last one, or leading up to this one, but I've got to do what I'm asking them to do. So if I say, don't yell at me, that's disrespectful. I need to not be yelling at them. If I don't want them to be condescending or patronizing or, just when they do talk, I want a certain, kindness, you could say. I don't really love that word for this, but you could say here's how I want it done. I need to do that first. I need to always be stepping up and doing the modeling, respecting them, respecting their perspective, respecting their values, their wants, their needs. And if I show them that, then they learn it from, kids learn so much from modeling. So they're watching you even unintentionally and learn how to do that.
I think a lot of times this happens though, Sarah, because there's a misunderstanding of what respect is. Many times people think respect is a kid learning how to say, yes, sir, no, sir. Just doing things without talking back, right? Those kind of things. Just saying, you're right, I was wrong. That they think that's respectful. When really respect in a marriage and in any other relationship, besides the parent-child, apparently, it's about us mutually respecting each other. Like if I want to do something and you don't want to do it, I value that. And I listen to it, right? I think the problem is we learn at an early age to disrespect the kids by just dragging them everywhere, right? And it's just like our needs and what we need to get done, whether it's like we need to get to work at this time, we need to get that. It's the kids are always supposed to like put their needs and wants aside for ours because we have to get somewhere. We've got to get something done, right? So it's not intentional. I don't think the parents intentionally doing that, but we do get into the habit of saying my needs and wants trump yours, right? Now, some parents do slip into where then the kids' needs and wants always trump the parents. That's not respectful either.
Right.
So like in a mutually respectful relationship, we hold both wants, needs, desires as equal. Right. And we learn how to hear both of them. So what does that look like? That looks like on a simple way. And this was a simple thing I did with our kids. I'd be wrestling or tickling them. And then they would say, stop, stop, stop. And I say, okay, I'll back off. Okay. You don't want me to do it anymore? And they say, well, just give me a break a minute. And then, okay, do it again. And then we go. And like sometimes when we grew up, parents or adults would do that stuff. They feel like they could put your hands on you without ever asking you. Or even something like they want to give a hug to a kid. And a kid's squirming, but they're forcing the hug on the kid. That's disrespectful. The kid is saying, I don't want to be hugged right now, right? Why not just ask the kid, can I give you a hug, right? That's what you would do to another adult. Why does the kid not get the opportunity to say, no, I don't want that right now? And then you could say, if not, when? I would love to give you a hug later, right? So those kind of respectful conversations, if you start early, then you're modeling to the kid how to do that with you. So then they don't start thinking it's their job to either like to completely give away their wants and desires or try to overwhelm your wants and desires with theirs. Instead, we both hold them together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great summary.
Okay. So number 4, stop expect, and this is one I gotta get this down because this can be frustrating. Stop expecting kids to learn something the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really hard for us parents.
It takes too much time.
Yeah.
Like just I told you how to do it. Just learn it.
I mean, I told you how to do it 50 times.
That's right.
I mean,
That's
come
right.
on.
I know. Yes.
But we know that's if you go into the brain science, it's just not how kids do things.
It's not how humans do things, honey.
Yeah,
like I hear that.
not. I know,
You and
but
I've read a
it
lot of
is,
marriage books,
yes.
and we've learned how to like do our disagreements differently, and it took many times, and we still mess up at times.
We're still. I mean, think about anything in your life, some habit you wish you had that you've tried and you've worked on, and how old you are, and if you haven't mastered it, then we look at these little kids and think, I told them when they get up in the morning, make their bed, brush their teeth, and they still don't do it. So just hold the grace you should be. I hope you're giving yourself and going, okay, I'm working on this.
Yeah.
Look at a child, and it's the same thing. They need the support.
Yep.
They need to be told. Yes, they need to be told again.
Yeah.
And hopefully with patience.
Well, when I'm thinking about that, Sarah, that's what I love about team sports or other types of activities kids are doing, right? Is nobody thinks a kid's going to learn a dance and just know it the first time, or some kid's going to learn how to take a soccer ball and they, I mean, most of practice, like we see, like our youngest has now been doing it since she was 4,
right?
And she's still at practice. They're still doing some of the exact same skills. All they're doing is a lot of times just speeding it up, right? Or adding some intensity to the situation. But it's still the exact same skill. It's just passing, stopping the ball, shooting it. I mean, like, that's all the same stuff. And we don't expect them, like, you did a practice. Why did you not get that? So in since like I showed them how to clean their room, I've done it 2 or 3 times. How many times have they gone to soccer practice? They go twice or 3 times a week for years, right? Skills take, and I made this may be discouraging to parents, but Dr. Becky Bailey says 1,000 times in context of the kid seeing it done and the kid getting to practice doing it. That's when they start to master that skill. So it's over and over, just like math, just like reading. They've got to do it over and over before it starts to click and it becomes just second nature.
Yep. And so if we can just be patient, it actually helps the process go better. And we can just see, okay, we're doing this again. We're doing this again. We're doing this again.
And then you help kids be patient with themselves, be patient with you. And so there's a lot less tension in the home when we realize we're playing the long game. We're not trying to solve a short-term solution. We're trying to play the long game to raise kids who have these skills mastered.
Right. And their brain won't even be done developing into their mid-20s. So that's what I was saying with children. It's like, if I'm an adult with a developed brain who's still struggling, then of course a child whose brain is doing so much work to grow and develop is going to struggle with learning and mastering all the skills they have to learn and master.
Yeah. So number 5, this is also one we still need to work on quite a bit, Sarah.
Okay. All right.
Stop taking your child's words and actions personally.
Yeah, because
that's a hard one, guys. Come on.
It's that inside,
it seems really personal.
Right? Because you're trying so hard, you're working so hard, you have that inner child, which we won't even get into. Those are the buttons that are being pushed, you know? And so, you want to show up and be such an amazing parent. And then when it feels to you like that's being called into question by this little human that you care so much about.
Yes.
Or you feel like I'm failing this behavior. They're still doing this, or they're having a meltdown.
Yeah.
I'm the, it's really hard to step back from that. You usually are well down that road before you realize.
Well, if I could give an example of just what happened a couple of days ago. I remember our youngest, I was asking her to clean some stuff up in the living room. She loves to put little piles of things. She likes to be doing crafts and then leave those crafts and then not pick up those crafts.
She's inspired by something new.
Exactly. So then I'll be like, honey, I want that stuff cleaned up. And then she'll clean up one thing and then go off to something else. And then I can feel my anger rising as I start to take it personal. Like my brain starts to go, she is like purposely not valuing what I say. She doesn't care. I mean, the voice of my own, she doesn't care what I've asked her to do. She thinks whatever she wants. Oh my gosh, she's so selfish and doesn't like, so all these kind of things will start going in my head and I'm taking it very personal as if she's purposely trying to ignore me and not do what I ask, you know? And that all that's going to do is put me against her and make me like an enemy to her.
Yeah. And I would say there's probably a piece of you it's like you're saying, oh, she's so selfish, but it's like, I am failing as a dad
Of course. Oh, yeah.
because I'm deeming her selfish,
Yes.
and that is on me. It's my fault. So it's these stories we are all building. We're building in our own heads about these things.
Yeah. So what can we do instead? Like, instead of doing that, instead of taking it personal, we can do what?
Try to catch ourselves.
We
We
can
take it personal,
yes.
but just see it as it's kind of comes back around to connection and just seeing it as a skill to be built.
Yeah.
And stop judging ourselves in them.
Well, if I can add to that,
It's like you have.
I want to see you to say. No, I want to say, but I was thinking what I would do and what I try to do myself is try to coach parents with this, that your child's words, actions, thoughts, and behaviors are about them. So they tell you about them. So if you're able to stop and differentiate yourself from their actions and their words and understand they are communicating to you about them. Right. So in that moment, when she's not picking up that stuff, it just tells me more about her, that in that moment, she's still learning that skill. She's still struggling with staying focused and getting it all done. Or
I think I said that when I started listening as skill. Yeah, but go ahead.
but I think it's when I write it down, it just becomes so stark that it's obvious that her words, thoughts, actions, are about her, but yet I'm making it all about me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 6, okay, this kind of ties into this. This would be so helpful in every relationship you have, by the way. Stop assuming the worst intentions.
Yeah, I was thinking about this one as we were going over the last one. That's really kind of the issue, even with that one, is just you're assuming you're going right to this is intentional, this is personal, this is they're out to get me, or they don't care, or they are an awful little human, And
well, I'll throw out words like lazy. I hear that a lot. That's kind of why I put that in there. I hear this a lot. The kid is like not doing it as fast as you would like, or isn't prioritizing what you want them to. Right. So the kid is lazy, and they'll hear the kid telling me this, and then they all like the kids. I'm so lazy. I'm just a lazy person. It becomes part of their identity.
Right. There's all kinds of labels we put on our kids, and a lot of times, again, we're putting labels on ourselves. Is that judgment inside of yourself? So you were told that probably as a kid too.
Yep.
Or you were the opposite. You were praised for not being. But again, it all comes down to this judgment, and instead of letting go of that judgment and just looking at the situation in front of you.
Yeah, and being curious, right?
Yeah,
like really being curious instead of like go ahead and start with this truth. We cannot read our kids' minds, just like I can't read your mind. I may assume, which we all know what assuming does. I may assume I know why my kid's doing something, but I'll tell you, most of the time you're not correct. No. Most of the time you're lacking the necessary information to draw a legitimate conclusion to what's going on. So lots of parents don't even ask the question, or they lead the question by being judgmental and critical. Like, I already know the answer. And so the kid is less apt to open up to you, when really this moment is a moment for you to come closer together. And if you just assume the worst, they're going to pull away from you. Yeah. And you will continue to have a file in your mind that just continues to back up this negative impression you have of your child. Right. They are lazy, they're disrespectful, they're rude, they're manipulative. That's a big word I hear a lot. And then you'll start to be hypervigilant to watch for all those things. And you will begin to form a picture of your child that is not accurate. And your kid will not want to spend time with you because the kid is tired of you assuming the worst of them.
Who wants to hang around that?
Nobody does.
And really, the bottom line is they're doing the best that they know how to do. They were trying to solve some kind of problem, manage some fear, anxiety. They're overwhelmed or stressed. I mean, it all comes, there is a reason behind what they're doing. And we can step into judgment and think we can figure it out. But if you just look at them and go, I wonder what led them here.
Yeah.
And just hear that and receive that, accept it, and move from that place.
Love that. It's a huge one. And it will help your marriage and every other relationship you have.
Right.
Number 7.
Because we as parents are also doing the best we know how to do. Even when we mess up, it is, and in that moment, our attempt at at handling the moment in front of us.
Yep.
And we might be stressed, tired, work. We might have all these things going on. We're scared about, or, worried about being late to work. We can't be late again. So we're screaming at our kid to get in the car, even though we'd agree that screaming isn't the best option. We're still in that moment doing the best we know how.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Okay. So number 7 is let's stop comparing our kids like siblings. Stop comparing the siblings or just to anyone in general. Like stop comparing your kid to anyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so damaging to the kid because the kid starts to think mom or dad just would love me more or be more proud of me if I was like my brother. It's just going to increase sibling rivalry and conflict and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And just comparing. Let's just toss out comparing ourselves as a parent. We each have our own story. We each have our own temperament.
Yep.
My child is different than your child. I have a different backstory to who I am as a person compared to you.
Yeah.
Right. So it's so illogical in some way to even compare.
I know.
Right. Because everyone's in a different situation
Yeah.
and a different person. And so how can we compare? And developmentally, I worked with a lot of babies a long time ago, a while ago. And they all crawl at different points. They all walk at different points. They all say their first word.
So true.
And it's true for every area in life. One child might master reading at a different age, master, it doesn't matter what it is, relationships, their social emotional development, how well they can make friends, or you might have a child who's talks to everybody, and you might have another one who that's a skill they're building.
So you're saying instead of comparing, let's accept them as they are, where they are.
Yeah, and in ourselves,
and
too.
ourselves.
We're all growing. We're all learning.
Yeah, I do remember all our kids, like they didn't really start walking till like 14 months.
Yeah, they were late walkers.
And we'd be around these families like kids are walking like 6 months, and we're like, what the crap are they doing with those kids? And we would be like, are we messing up? Are we doing something wrong? Should we be doing more tummy time and crawling thing? Like, I guess we're not.
Yeah, it was something that you're always just so aware of.
And sleep was the same way. We were comparing like, why are our kids waking up all the time? And like that one parent said they were, their kid was sleeping by 6 months, and they're woke up again. And like, oh my God, we're failing as parents. And it's the same thing the kid feels when we compare them. So why am I not better like that? That one kid, I've had many kids who start to resent their siblings or other friends of the families because mom and dad are constantly bringing up, why are you not more like this? Or that kid does that. Or it's easy for him. Why isn't it easy for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 8. Okay. Let's stop confusing being busy together with spending meaningful time together. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Because I think sometimes families will think they're together a lot because they're driving to appointments, they're at soccer practice together, and I picked them up from school, and you're in the home a lot, but that's different than intentional together time. And it's really, really important to be aware of, am I with my kid or am I actually connecting with my child?
Am I actually seeing them, noticing them? Yeah. Or are we just going places, right?
Yeah, and that's such a big difference because the connection is where the power is, not just physical presence around each other.
And slowing it down, right?
Yeah.
Lots of times, those times when we're together doing things, we're constantly focused on a task, We're not really focused on hearing each other. And it's I mean, this is, once again, it's not rocket science when it comes to marriage. Like if all you and I did was just like task together, we could still have an okay marriage, but if we want like a flourishing marriage, we got to spend time seeing each other and really hearing each other's heart and all that kind of stuff, right? And the kids desperately want to be seen and known. They don't want to be just a passenger in the car with us.
Yeah. You can eat dinner with connection, or you can just eat dinner and the thing is done and you've eaten. And I'd even say
I think you're saying that to me. I think you're saying since I
well, actually, I was thinking of an example.
Okay, go ahead.
Sometimes we go on walks.
Oh,
and sometimes we go
this is about me
as a family.
Yes.
And we're walking, and there's connection, there's conversation and stuff. And then sometimes walking is just a task that's being done, even though we're all outside.
Yes.
And sometimes you're not even walking with them.
No, because everyone's doing too slow. I want to get the walk done with.
So that's a good example of and not even saying sometimes it is a task.
Sure.
So it's not to say going for a walk, sometimes it needs to be a task and we need to get it done because we want to exercise or whatever. And we need food. But we need to be aware, what am I doing in this moment? Am I completing a task? Do I need to connect? So
I love that. It's so important, and something I definitely need to work on. Because even when it comes to eating, sometimes I just want to eat and move on, But like there can be a lot of beautiful moments happening eating, and we're all eating slowly and talking and laughing and all that stuff, right?
Well, I notice when I'm stressed, I move into that task a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just like, get it done, get this done, get that done, because I've got this whole to-do list, and oddly enough, sometimes it doesn't go very well when I see it that way versus, let me pull in some connection into this. And
that's great. Okay, so number 9 might be a little touchy. Okay, a little touchy, right? So
brace yourselves.
Yeah, don't get too mad about this or beat yourself up about it. But number 9, stop criticizing your kids' screen time while staying glued to your own phone.
Yeah.
Hear this from a lot of kids. A lot of kids are like, they're not going back to that meaningful time together. Like they're just all sitting in a room in the same place, and the parents are just on the phone the whole time.
Yeah.
And then the kids and then I get yelled at for being on my phone too much. Yeah. And then the parents always have what the kid thinks is excuses for why they're on the phone. Is like, well, it's work, it's this, it's that, right? The kid's like, I've got important things I'm doing too. I'm doing school. I'm talking to that one friend about that project we're doing. And you assume, going back to worse intentions, you assume I'm just on the phone for negative things, Right. And so,
or we don't honor their value system.
Yeah.
So connecting with friends as a teen is really important.
Sure.
I mean, they have this high developmental drive to do that. So where we feel like you're just talking to your friends, that's really valuable to them. You're saying, I'm doing work, so I have good reason. You don't have a good reason,
Yeah. I just think it's important, and something we've tried to do is tell our kids, you can give us feedback.
Yeah.
If you think we're on it more than we would like you on it, just let us know, right? Even I remember early when Abby got her phone, she had a lot of fun proving to us that she had less screen time than us. And it was like a badge of honor. She'd be like, how long were you on this week, Dad? And so she kept doing it because she wanted to show herself that the phone didn't own her, right? That she had control. And it's really played out well, where she's been really disciplined about the phone. And so really, guys, we don't have a lot of discussions about screen time because we've been pretty open about ours. We've been pretty open, like, I need to be on the phone less, or I notice I'm on the phone this much. I feel like I'm just more distracted, and I'm thinking about it. I'm more stressed in general, right?
Even if it's for good reasons like work, just structuring that. So it's not just the phone is constantly being picked up.
Yeah.
Downtime, we don't eat with our phones. There's things like that where when we're watching movies, we're not just on our phones all the time. So we just have some structure around that we are doing ourselves, to try to just model that and hopefully not be
and I'm telling
on it all the time. And because I know I feel drawn, I've got this list.
I know,
grocery list. I've got So
and we can all justify it that it's all good. I'm not looking at TikTok. I'm not looking at.
I just need to organize it so it's not.
And even lots of times we've been purposeful about explaining that. Hey guys, I'm gonna get my phone for a minute to do this, right? And that modeling to our kids, hey, if you're gonna be on the phone for a bit, just let us know what you're doing, right? And so Abby might say, I'm going through some of these pictures and editing some of these or whatever, And so just having those conversations where we're open, transparent, but going back to mutual respect is, I will not ask you to do something I'm not willing to do. So I think this is a very important time where we need to model and guide and disciple our kids on how to have a healthy relationship with their phone. And so asking them to have that back and forth with you where you're open and not defensive and they can talk back to you about it, that's going to help them have the skill they need to manage it better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So then the last one, number 10, is stop giving advice when your child is simply needing you to listen.
Oh, guys, this is so hard.
Yep.
It's so hard. Sometimes you're just, it's your job as a parent.
I
know.
know
all the answers.
I do.
You're brilliant.
And I'm so wise.
Shared.
Yes.
And they're just these hungry vessels
I know.
wanting you to.
And if you just listen to me, it would solve all these problems you're having.
Everything in life would be perfect.
We've been there, done it, honey. Let's just listen to me.
Right? But anyway, a lot of times, even when you have a brilliant answer, that's just not what they want. And we actually don't want to always provide the brilliant answer, right? Because we want them to come up with the answer. And especially teenagers, they kind of already have it. They actually don't need us to talk as much as we think we need to talk. We want them to sort through it. And by asking questions and just listening, we help them learn how to, pull out their own brilliant wisdom, their own wants and needs and desires and think through things and problem solve.
And they might come up with better answers than we would have. And they'll blow you away.
If we do that for them, how do they learn how to do that for themselves?
Exactly. Okay, so that's an important one. And I think the way to do that is to maybe, if you're about to give advice, just say, hey, is this a moment you want me to listen, or do you want me just you wanting some advice? And then that can clarify for you why the kid can't. And I'm telling you, most of the time the kid will say, I just want you to listen.
Yep.
And then the kid will stop coming to you because the kid thinks you're not listening. You're just trying to give advice. And I've said this a lot this episode. It's just like a marriage. Most marriage counseling is one spouse coming to the other spouse, just wanting them to listen, and they start giving advice, and it causes all this conflict. And the other spouse stops coming to them, and they start sharing with their friend or their parents or whatever. They stop going to the spouse. Right. And if you want that person to keep coming to you, they want you most of the time to just listen. And once you've listened and you've understood, your advice is actually going to be better.
That's what I was going to say. If they're inviting your advice, they're much more likely to listen. We do all this talking and they don't listen because it's not invited.
Yeah. So I want to do a recap.
I got one more thing to say about that.
Do that.
The really cool thing is our daughter, we've done this enough with her now. She'll actually tell us. We jump in with advice that I'm not even thinking about it.
It's mindless.
They just say something and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 and she'll say, I wasn't asking.
It's good. And it's because we want her, we want her to talk back to us.
Yeah. So I'm
we
like,
want her to tell me if that's not what you wanted. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. So I want to do a recap. Okay. And I want you going into 2026, if you want to, like I said, create these deeper connected relationships with your kids, start new habits with them. I just think these are good places to start. So number one, let's stop grounding our kids as a main discipline tool. Okay. So instead, we want to focus on what is the skill the kid is needing and how are we helping support them to get that skill. Okay. Number two, stop telling our kids, don't talk back to me. Instead, start thinking, how would I like them to talk back to me? Because of course you want to have conversations with your kid the rest of your life. Number three, stop demanding respect when you aren't modeling it. So respect is about us mutually listening to each other and valuing each other's wants and needs. Nobody's wants and needs trumps the other one, right? And this is going to lead to more respect for relationships among the siblings and among their friends, all that stuff. Number four, stop expecting kids to learn something the first time. Play the long game. Realize skills take 1,000 times in context to master. So play the long game. Realize walking really well, running, eating, sleeping. These are skills that just don't happen overnight. They take time. That's just like cleaning your room, being able to express your feelings, regulate your emotions, all those things. Number five, stop taking your child's words and behaviors personally. It's not about you. It's not about you. Even if they say it is about you, it's actually not about you. It's about them. And so seek to understand them. Number six, stop assuming the worst intentions. See the best in them, right? Believe they're doing the best they can, okay? Because that's what you want them believing about you, right? Number seven, stop comparing siblings or comparing your child to anyone else. Instead, accept them as they are and where they are. Number eight, stop confusing being busy together with spending meaningful time together. Really focus on how are we connecting? How am I seeing you? And is this moment really deepening our relationship? Right. Number nine, stop criticizing your kids' screen time while staying glued to your own phone. Have an open dialogue about how they view your screen time and like how much you're on it, and like make that an easy conversation that we can start having on a regular basis about how we have a healthy relationship with our phones. And number 10, stop giving advice when your child simply needs you to listen. So we just said that. Ask them what they're wanting. Are you wanting advice, or are you just wanting me to listen? So I hope these 10 will give you kind of an idea, instead of a New Year's resolution, maybe just a different framework of how things could be changed to have a healthier family interaction. Yeah. Right. So I hope you don't feel judged or criticized. Sarah and I are working on these things too. Yeah. So like, understand it's all a work in progress. We've got a lot of growth to do as well as you do. But 2026 doesn't have to be the same as 2025. It can be even better. So we hope you are encouraged and feel like we've given you the tools to do that. And look forward to talking to you soon. The Art of Raising Humans podcast should not be considered or used as counseling, but for educational purposes only.